Welcome to Cooking with the Cook Sisters, brought to you by the United States Botanic Garden. We're very pleased to be with you regularly to offer online cooking demonstrations and home garden tips. Hi, I'm Danielle Cook. Did you know that cilantro and coriander are two parts to the same whole? Cilantro refers to the leaves and the stems, while coriander are the seeds of the coriander plant. And today we're going to combine both in a wonderful citrusy chilled tomato soup. First, the other cook sister, Adrienne, is going to teach us more about harvesting coriander and cilantro from the plants in her garden.
Hi, I'm Adrienne. Welcome to my garden. Today we're going to be working on something a little unusual. You don't often see it in the garden, so stay with me. This leafy green herb that we all know so well as cilantro is known internationally as coriander. Here in the States, only the seed that the cilantro plant produces is called coriander. Cilantro germinates in cool soil, so sow in the spring or fall. These plants were sown last fall, and this spring I enjoyed a harvest of young leaves. As the plants mature, the foliage changes in both appearance and in flavor, becoming rather bitter. As they grow tall, they also begin blooming, which means a harvest of delicious coriander seed. Each of the tiny flowers in this umbel is going to produce its own seed. Collect them from the plants while they're still green, and you'll be rewarded with a bright cilantro citrus flavor. This green coriander is delicious on summer salads and in compound butters. Leave the seeds on the plants until they turn brown and dry, and collect them then for authentic coriander flavor in winter dishes. Thanks for being in my garden today. Let's get back to Danielle, who's going to be using both cilantro and coriander in a delicious soup.
I'll begin by coring and cutting in half 3 pounds of plum tomatoes. As the tomato season really gets underway, you could use any variety. What a great way of using up an abundance of overripe summer tomatoes. Drizzle the tomatoes lightly with olive oil and a sprinkling of salt. Put them under the broiler and cook them till they're nicely charred and brown. While the tomatoes are cooking, I'm going to toast my coriander seed. I do this in a dry skillet over medium heat, and it only takes but a couple of minutes for the seeds to become very fragrant. Transfer them to a mortar and pestle and grind them down. This can also be done in a mini food processor. The flavor and aroma is so different than cilantro, but such a compliment. Time to check the tomatoes. Oh, they're looking good. You can also do this step on an outdoor grill, but you would place the tomatoes skin side down. Transfer the tomatoes to a large mixing bowl. I'll add some fresh squeezed garlic, the coriander seeds. For a little heat, I'm going to add just a tad of cayenne pepper, cilantro with their stems, sherry vinegar, and a nice drizzle of good olive oil, which will make the soup creamy. Mix everything well and let the tomatoes and all their seasonings sit for about a half an hour to meld. Next, blend or puree your soup in batches in a blender or a food processor. If you want, you can take an added step and put the pureed soup through a very fine sieve. A good blender, however, will make the job easy and you won't need to strain the soup. The soup needs to chill thoroughly, but first give it a stir and check to see how thick it is. If necessary, you can add a little vegetable broth or even chicken broth. While that's chilling, I'm going to snip up some chives from my garden. Once the soup is thoroughly chilled, I'm going to serve it with a dollop of ricotta cheese, some chopped tomatoes, and my garden chives. In our house, we enjoy this soup all summer long. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you next week with a new recipe using green beans.